Hey guys, today I want to talk about P3 BIS List for Balance Druid, as well as P3 Rotation, Glyphs, a bit of Theory Crafting, and other changes that P3 will bring to Boomies. Uh, it's my first time doing something like this, and it was actually requested on the Classic Ghost Discord. I'm linking Ghost Discord in the description, as well as this channel. Go check him out, he's the biggest Boomie content creator since Classic WoW. So let's get down to business. First, let's mention the rotation we are using now. This is a screenshot from WoWhead, and I agree with majority of the things that's written here. We are mostly pre-potting Potion of Wild Magic, and this could change in Phase 3 as looks like Potion of Speed for pre-pot seems better. It's actually seeming slightly more for me even in my current gear in Phase 2, however I'm still using Potion of Wild Magic for pre-pots. The Potion of Speed seems slightly higher in Phase 3, because with the higher crit rating on gear, it's relying you're gonna proc Lunar Eclipse fairly soon. So the first few Starfire casts in Lunar Eclipse will still benefit from the Potion of Speed duration. But if you don't proc Lunar Eclipse, it's pretty much a wasted pre-pot, as it doesn't really help on the Wrath cast. So it's a bit of RNG, and I tend to eliminate any RNG elements if it's possible. So for now, I'm still using Potion of Wild Magic as it's my personal preference. I like the first trends and Starfall to benefit from it as well as it helps me to get to Lunar Eclipse faster at start. But I have to wait for Phase 3 and the ToGC gear, and perhaps I'm gonna change my mind if I get like consistently fast Lunar Eclipses on pool. Then it's applying Fairy Fire, but with the new Feral changes, I'm not even bothering on single target anymore. Even now, like, it's part of their rotation, so it's gonna be up for sure. And then Force of Nature, Starfall, there are no changes here, but the very next step, Insect Swarm, like, let's stop right here. The new tier gear brings like interesting new bonuses, specifically because of the 2-piece tier 9 bonus, it's right here somewhere. Your Moonfire ability now has a chance for its periodic damage to be critical strikes. This is causing that we will shift most likely from Glyph of Insect Swarm to Glyph of Moonfire in Phase 3. So our main trial single target in Phase 3 will be Moonfire, Starfall and Starfire. And since we will no longer running the Glyph of Insect Swarm, our Insect Swarm rotation will change from keeping it at maximum uptime as possible to pretty much using Insect Swarm only on movement. This changes our Moonfire as well, as it's changing from casting it mostly only before Lunar Eclipse to trying to maintain it throughout the fight at max uptime. So Moonfire in Phase 3 will be our new Insect Swarm from Phase 2. The rest of this and our Eclipse rotation isn't changing in Phase 3. So the ideal scenario according to Sims in Phase 3 should look like this. Pre-pot Potion of Speed, cast Force of Nature, prior to Heroism of course, cast Starfall, and cast Moonfire and proceed with Eclipse rotation like we are used to now, while keeping the Moonfire as much as possible without clipping it. And now comes the great question. When should we change the Glyph of Insect Swarm for Glyph of Moonfire so like all these changes, rotation changes starts happening? I've done a bit of simming on my own, so let's have a look. Here are the values for the current Phase 2 BIS gear with just 2-piece tier 8 and rest with off-pieces of 252 item level. And next one is the same but using 4-piece tier 8 instead of those 252 off-pieces, as those are harder to acquire for majority of players. For example, I'm still using 4-piece tier 8 and will be probably using it until Phase 3. Just a note, these values are for my single target talent build that looks like this. And also the sim is using Potion of Wild Magic for pre-pot and Potion of Speed in combat with Demon Impact value of 450 while having Engineering and Alchemy as professions. If you change any of those, these values will of course change. I've made this mostly for myself, so I know when should I make the switch to Glyph of Moonfire. So here we go. On the left you can see different variations of maintaining our dots. First one is our phase 2 best option, and that's applying Moonfire before lunar eclipse and keeping insect swarm at max. I've seen also different options, both dots at max uptime, or Moonfire at max and insect swarm before solar, or Moonfire at max and insect swarm unused. And of course, I've done this for both of the glyph choices, so the upper part are values while using Starfall, Starfire and Insect Swarm glyphs, and below is using Starfall, Starfire and Moonfire glyphs. So no surprise here, in Phase 2 BIS gear or even in 4-piece tier 8, both options seems best for Insect Swarm glyph with Insect Swarm max uptime and Moonfire just before eclipse. Lunar of course. However, as soon as we get the 2-piece of tier 8, looks like we get higher value already for the Glyph of Moonfire. I've seen this with Phase 2 best in slot gear with 4-piece tier 8, so no 252 off-pieces. I didn't touch anything, just replaced gloves and head and left everything as it is. So it's basically a full Phase 2 best in slot gear with just 2-piece tier 8 and 2-piece tier 9. That's it. Looks like the answer to when to change both glyphs on rotation is as soon as you get the 2-piece tier 9. The interesting part about this though is that the highest value according to Sim in this gear setup with Glyph of Moonfire is the one where we keep both of our dots at max uptime. And this will change again when you get more of Phase 3 gear, assuming the Phase 3 best in slot gear. The best setup is using Glyph of Moonfire, but keeping Moonfire at max and Insect Swarm unused actually, so using it only on movement. However, yes, this is the possible option when you have Phase 3 best in slot gear, and this is what Druid Discord and eventually even Wowhead will suggest. But you can see the difference between using both of our dots at max uptime and Insect Swarm unused is really tiny, it's like 3 DPS difference. Not to mention that until you get the Phase 3 best in slot gear, it's actually seeming higher for both of our dots at max uptime. And another benefit of using Insect Swarm is that it actually helps the raid, like specifically your tanks not to get smashed so hard, is because without the glyph, you are decreasing the target's chance to hit by 3%. So I advise you to sim everything for your gear setup, talents, profession and everything, not just following guides blindly. I will most likely experiment with both dots at max uptime, and I will resim everything when my gear changes until I get enough. It's gonna be worth it to not use Insect Swarm at all. Another thing I want to mention is that the difference between Phase 3 best in slot gear when using Glyph of Moonfire and Glyph of Insect Swarm is 120 DPS. So that's the value of one decent item upgrade or switching like rare games to epic ones. So it's not a small difference, but at the same time it's not massive as well. With like 12k sim, that's only 1% of your possible damage, and this is at the very ideal scenario that you didn't have to move a lot and you didn't clip your Moonfire and you played pretty much perfectly, which is rarely the case. What I'm trying to say is that movement in Phase 3 with Glyph of Moonfire might be a problem. This glyph is designed around having full duration of Moonfire and letting it fall off before reapplying, never clipping it, else you are losing DPS. And the initial damage is nerfed big time as well, so not only we are losing our great movement option from Phase 2 in form of 4-piece tier 8 instant Starfire proc, but as well Moonfire spam. So the movement, if there is no other option when Starfall or Trance or Innervate are on cooldowns, is pretty much only Insect Swarm or Typhoon. So I still have to see like what the ToGC encounters will look like, but perhaps I'm just theory crafting here. If there's like tons of movement on one of the encounters, perhaps going back to Glyph of Insect Swarm might still be worth it. Another thing that is interesting is the comparison between Phase 2 best in slot gear and Phase 3 best in slot gear. The DPS gain, which is around 1.7k, so fairly decent gain. This is again seen for my setup with engineering and alchemy. if you are wondering perhaps like how the Crafting, King of Phase 1 and Phase 2 profession is doing, well, the advantage it kinda diminished with the introduction of epic gems, so it's now on par with other professions like alchemy, enchanting, and others. The difference between alchemy and Crafting for Phase 3 best in slot gear is 1 DPS for me. However, looks like engineering and tailoring is now pulling ahead, so if you are really sweaty and you want to min-max, those are the two best professions for boomies in Phase 3. As the difference between tailoring and alchemy is around 24 DPS, but I'm not gonna ditch alchemy for tailoring just because of it. Right now, what is the actual Phase 3 BIS list? How does the best in slot gear look like? So there are actually two preliminary options on Druid Discord for both Horde and Alliance, and because of the Draenei 1% hit difference. Make sure also to check out the Druid Discord as well, the link is down in the description. Keep in mind, this is not a final and still might change, so here's how the Horde version look like, and the difference between the Horde and the Alliance is in the bracers. Horde is using the crit and hit, Dark Essence bindings that drop from Twin Valkyries with like a 9% drop rate. And Alliance is running the Haste and Spirit version, Braces of the Autumn Willow that drop from Lord Jaraxxus on Heroic mode with just only 6% drop rate. So slightly less drop chance, and also have to use like free, here's one, free hit rating gems. Both of them are synced on the Druid Discord with engineering and tailoring. This is linked straight from the Druid Discord. So different talent build as well, it's different to mine. And they are both using Potion of Speed for pre-pot and the gtmoniq pack value of 500. So that's why the final DPS is slightly higher than what I had in my spreadsheet. So the difference between the Horde and Alliance is depends on how you sim it. It's around 10 DPS. You can run it again. It's usually around 10 DPS in favor of the Alliance one. However, since I'm an Alliance player, I'm gonna continue discussing the Alliance version. Well, here I actually seemed Horde more. But usually it's around 10% 10 DPS difference. It's 11. It's actually more than 10. Yeah. So Alliance version slightly better. First thing you might have noticed on the BIS list is the new idol. It's the idol of Lunar Fury, and this can be both in Dalaran for 25 emblems of triumph. So yeah, this is simming slightly higher for us than the previous idol we were using since Phase 1, and the Starfire one. The second thing is that there are two items from Phase 2 that are still BIS in Phase 3. One is Flare of the Heavens, Trinket, and the other one is Nebula Band. Flare of the Heavens, of course, drops from General Wessex in 25-man, and Nebula Band is from 10-man Argon. I'm doing 10-man on weekly basis and still no luck on the Nebula Band. But perhaps the 10-man loot will go into Heroic Dungeons in Phase 3. No one knows. That did happen. It happened this happened in Phase 2 with Nax 10 gear. But we will have to wait for the actual confirmation from Blizzard if it's the case or not. Yeah. Looks like we will be using 4 piece tier 9. can see using gloves, head, shoulders, and chest. And the damage of, the 4-piece tier 9 bonus increases the damage done by your Starfire and Wrath spells by 4%. So pretty solid. So the non-token we'll be using is on legs, and the legs are leg wraps of the Awakening from the last Anubarak ToGC boss on Heroic, with pretty solid 21% chance on drop rate, and they are leather, so shouldn't be much contested, hopefully. And as opposed to for example, the neck whale of the Valkyr from Twin Valkyrs, like this is just like 10% drop chance, and this will probably be contested by a lot of casters. And so will be the Misery's End, the best in slot weapon from Heroic Anubarak, and Reign of the Unliving cast trinket, and also the band of the, I don't know how to say this, Deplorable Violence from Heroic Anubarak as well. So yeah, every caster will want this trinket, ring, weapon, and neck. So pretty much heavily contested. Our best options for waist and boots are unfortunately those are the boots of the Morning Widow and Court of Binding Cold. Our cloth version, both are cloth from Faction Champions. So again, we'll be fighting for those with other casters. However, the biggest challenge to obtaining, and probably a massive upgrade, is the cloak. The cloak is 272 item level, and this can be obtained only on 25-man heroic from the tribute chest with like 50 attempts left. So, meaning you cannot wipe in ToGC, or it's gone, basically. Yeah. So this alone will make this very rare for most skills, at least for the first few weeks. For that reason, like there's, for example, an easily obtainable click phase 3 other cloak, Show of Refreshing Winds. It's a replacement until you get your hands on the actual best in slot 272 cloak. This one drops from the first boss in ToGC, so should be an accessible option, should be easy to get, and it's probably the best option until you can get your hands on the best in slot cloak. I've also tried to come up with my own phase 3 BIS list, and I actually, for my setup, engineering and alchemy, and my talent builds, looks like I'm pulling slightly more with this than the Druid Discord preliminary alliance BIS. So let's check it out. Here's the link straight from the Druid Discord, the preliminary alliance. And if I change it to my setup, meaning I'm going to change to the talent build, I'm going to probably use on the single target. Here it is. I'm going to change, let's say we're pre-building Wild Magic. Okay, let's leave everything as it is. We're Alliance, spell power 500. And yeah, unused Insect Swarm, that's right. Moonfire Maximized, that's right. And we have Starfire, Moonfire, Starfall. I say this as phase 3 BIS Alliance. And one more thing I have to do is I had to change my profession because I'm not tailor, I'm alchemy. And as well I had to change the enchantment cloak from the tailoring one to the engineering one. So this is my step that I'm gonna run, and this is saved to my Phase3 BIS Alliance disk. This is straight from Discord. The only thing you saw I made is I just changed the tailoring cloak to the engineering, tailoring enchant to the engineering one. Let's sim it. Okay. Now this is the BIS list I've come up with. Nothing else has changed, everything is the same, and it's pulling slightly ahead for my setup with alchemy, no tailoring. See, 9 DPS more. $22 DPS more. So yeah, if I'm not tailor, looks like the setup I've made for myself with alchemy, everything is the same. To the BIS, I'm just to the scenario, the town build is the same. The potion usage is the same. The demonic pack value is the same. Like rotation is the same. The only thing I did was changing the gear setup, and for some reason I came up with a better one. The difference I've made is in the bracers. I'm using the hit and crit bracers, the same the horde is using, the Dark Essence bindings, and I also replaced the Nebula band with another phase 2 best in slot ring, and that's conductive seal from 25 mm. As in this setup, for some reason, it's pulling ahead compared to the Nebula one, around 18 DPS difference. Let's save this and try to replace with Nebula band. Yeah, we can leave the ruined cardinal right there. Where is it? Oh, yeah, I have to do phase 3. Yeah, it's there. And Nebula band is seeming less than the conductive seal with the Dark Essence bindings and this setup. So yeah, 18 DPS between the rings isn't a massive difference. So I'll be gearing towards one of these setups, either what Druid Discord is showing or the one I've made, depending on what ring I'll get from phase 2. I have neither of those. I have no Nebula Band or Conductive Seal, and what braces it's gonna be easier to acquire as well, right? Either the Dark Essence bindings or the what's the other one? The braces Vault and Widow. In terms of like what you should go for first, okay, here's my current gear at the moment in phase 2. Let me just change. Yeah, it's mine. This is one. Yeah. So this is the phase 2 rotation at the moment. Yeah. We have like demon impact value of 500, which is kind of higher than what we're running. So my biggest upgrade for me probably is gonna be the gloves, since I'm still using the 10-man version, and the gloves are actually, even if I break the 450 rate, it's seeming like 100 DPS gain. And if I get like 2-piece, for example, let's say gloves and the head, see, no figurines, it's seeming like 500 DPS or something. So it's massive. Like the 2-piece is really massive. But of course you have to switch. The here is it one. You have to switch the glyph as well. Let's say, okay, we're gonna use already Epic Gems. Which one is the... Wait, is it? Oh, yeah, let's do this. Or let's say we're gonna use Potent Leather. $326 DPS difference. That's with insect swarm glyph. And if we change already to the Moonfire one and run it both at max, just what I showed on the spreadsheet. Actually, I'm gonna... It's almost 500 DPS. So yeah, like 2-piece is already massive. So I'm gonna go straight for 2-piece as soon as possible. And the other thing you can do is I'm gonna do straight away is the Bejeweled piece of bracers. Yeah, those are the tailoring ones from BOE from tailoring. And yeah, I'm gonna craft this as soon as possible. It's giving me like 120 or 140 DPS increase. Since I haven't have a solid Ular 25 man bracers. And again, like around 100 DPS or perhaps even more is just switching gems. So I'm gonna switch gems to Epic on day 1 of phase 3, and I'm gonna craft the Bejeweled bracers, wizard bracers. I'm just gonna buy 4 orbs from auction house as soon as possible. And yeah, but it all depends on your gear setup, and can I advise you to sim everything for yourself. So yeah, I'm gonna go for the bracers, and of course the new idol. As soon as I have the badges for it, I'm gonna buy the new idol. That's like 125 DPS difference as well. And I'm gonna go for the 2-piece, and I'll try to go for the gloss if it's possible. That's pretty much it for today. If you like the content, make sure to like and subscribe. And thank you for watching. See you next time.